America, I'm Joan London.
And by process of elimination, that means I'm either Spencer Christian or Charlie Gibson, and I'll take the Gibson name for today. It is Tuesday, July 6th. It is already evening in Tokyo, where a few hours ago President Clinton arrived for the economic summit with the leaders of the world's wealthiest industrialized nations. The meeting is going to focus on economic matters, but questions about Mr. Clinton's global political leadership won't be far from the delegates' thoughts.
And this is Mr. Clinton's first overseas trip as president. And as he set out for Tokyo, he proposed to lead the search for a new global economy with lower trade barriers and new jobs. In a few moments, we will be joined by Treasury Secretary Lloyd Bentsen live from Tokyo to get his forecast for the economic summit. Spencer, of course, is here live with us for his forecast on the weather.
That's right, and following on Charlie's lead in the name game, I guess you could say that Spencer is my Christian name. Well, with very little movement to the funnel system in the Midwest, another round of soaking rain is in store today for, actually this area is in store for another round of soaking rain. And of course, this is an area that hardly needs more rain, and we'll give you more details in this half hour.
Also, terrific story coming up in our 7:30 half hour. You're going to find out how a computer keyboard managed to come up with the latest steamy romance novel. And we'll also have some music coming up from the piano keyboard of Bruce Hornsby. Right now, though, Barry Serafin has the news of the day. In for Mort Dean this morning. Barry?
Thank you, Charlie. Good morning, everyone. President Clinton got right to work after he arrived in Tokyo this morning for his first economic summit. He met with Japan's lame duck Prime Minister Kiichi Miyazawa and talked about one of the longest-lasting sore points between the two countries, the issue of trade. ABC's Ann Compton is traveling with the president, and she joins us now from Tokyo. Ann, what's the latest there, and is there any prospect of Mr. Clinton being able to do anything about the huge U.S. trade deficit with Japan?
Well, Barry, I think the atmosphere here in Tokyo tonight is not that they'll have any concrete decisions by the time this week is over, but something has happened in the last 48 hours, and this deals with the bilateral relationship between the U.S. and Japan. Of course, the summit doesn't begin until tomorrow, but for today, the president concentrated in his meeting with Prime Minister Miyazawa on the problems the U.S. is having getting American products sold in Japan, getting those markets opened up. And after the two had a very long bilateral meeting at the Prime Minister's offices today, President Clinton announced that indeed there had been an exchange of letters between the two leaders in the last few days, although Prime Minister Miyazawa is a lame duck. His administration is going to go ahead and talk this week to the Americans about trying to get those markets opened up. President Clinton said he wants more jobs and more trade with the two countries, not less, and he thinks at least some kind of framework on how that can be done this week. That's a change from when President Clinton left Washington on Sunday.
And the president is already talking about another summit, a so-called jobs summit. What's that all about?
Well, tomorrow when the G7 actually meets, he realizes that all the countries are in the same boat, no matter whether their economy is stalled or beginning to grow again. Nobody seems to be able to create any jobs. So he's invited every country to send representatives to Washington at some point within the next few months. And they'll really take a look at where these big industrial nations can create jobs for the future. It's something that's plaguing all of the countries, and that may be more concrete than anything else that happens here this week.
All right, thanks very much, Ann Compton in Tokyo. Tonight, ABC's Peter Jennings will have a complete report on today's developments from Japan when World News Tonight originates from Toyota City. Here at home, the flooding situation is only getting worse in the upper Mississippi Valley, and with more rain forecast throughout the week, it's unlikely to get better anytime soon. Here's ABC's Kathy Wolf.
A levee in a rural area 40 miles north of St. Louis has broken in 3 places, and levees in residential areas are also threatening to break. For some people here, it's a race against time.
Our house and our furniture, everything in the house, we don't want it to go under.
I feel like this is going to really protect us. I really do.
The Army Corps of Engineers says it is possible to fortify some earthen flood walls enough to keep the high water away, but they have to move quickly. Days of heavy rain in the upper Midwest states created a massive pool of water in the Mississippi River, which began its journey south from Minnesota. It crept into Prairie du Chien, Wisconsin on Wednesday, moved into Davenport, Iowa yesterday, and is expected to hit St. Louis tomorrow. The city of St. Louis is preparing for high water, but there's not much to worry about. Floodgates protect the city up to 50 feet. The water is not expected to exceed 40. St. Louis uses prefabricated floodgates, which are only put into place when the high water is predicted. The assembly began on Thursday and was completed within 24 hours.
you have a project that is designed to provide urban protection. So I think we're very well protected here in the metropolitan St. Louis area.
In fact, there is so little concern in the downtown area, the annual fair on the riverfront was unaffected by the rising water. But some small towns along the river have no such confidence as the water continues to rise. Kathy Wolf, ABC News, St. Louis.
There's new fighting to report in Bosnia in the city of Mostar. The latest attempt to silence those guns fell apart before it ever began. A scheduled meeting between UN commanders and the leaders of Bosnia's three warring sides was canceled. The Serb and Croat generals refused to show up. In South Africa, there's been another night of killing involving rival black political factions. The death toll in recent days is now more than 125. ABC's Hal Walker has the story.
South African police said many areas were practically besieged as warring factions declared what amounted to a de facto state of civil war. On Monday alone, authorities recovered 20 bodies in 2 black townships, all of them believed to be the victims of political violence. The killings follow an agreement between the 2 major parties of Nelson Mandela and Mangosuthu Buthelezi for non-racial elections to be held on April 27th of next year. But far from bringing peace between the warring factions, the decision appears to have hardened differences and heightened tensions between the warriors on the streets. Many of the victims are apolitical bystanders caught in the crossfire between supporters of the African National Congress and the Inkatha Party. Inkatha wants elections delayed until a new constitution has been drafted, giving its Natal province virtual independence. The leadership has threatened a real civil war unless its demands are met. A civil war that will certainly raise the death toll above the 10,000 fatalities already recorded in just 3 years. Hal Walker, ABC News.
Authorities in Harriman, Tennessee are trying to find out what caused a 29-car train to derail yesterday. The train was carrying toxic chemicals when it jumped the tracks. 1 car exploded and caught fire. 5 people were hurt. And finally, there was a small demonstration outside the White House yesterday, one that had something of an out-of-this-world quality to it. Members of an organization called Operation Right to Know insist the government is hiding 20,000 pages of documents that prove the existence of UFOs, unidentified flying objects. That's the news and then some. Joan?
All right, thank you, Barry. And right now it's 7 minutes after. Before we get to Spencer's weather forecast and then go to the Economic Summit in Tokyo, some art economics news to report to you. One of the most important drawings to appear at auction in modern times is on the block at Christie's in London this morning. It is a chalk and ink drawing by Michelangelo called Rest on the Flight into Egypt. Dating from the 1530s, it depicts a meeting of the infant Baptist accompanied by 2 angels with the Holy Family on the flight from Herod's persecution. Now, it has not been seen in public since 1836. Similar works or paintings and sculpture are exhibited in museums, but this drawing has been kept in private hands for almost 160 years. Now, the last time there was an equally rare drawing on the market, a work by Raphael, it auctioned in 1984, and it sold for £3.5 million. That's about $5.25 million at current exchange rates. We're going to keep you posted this morning on the bidding going on in London. Right now, though, it's time for Spencer Christian and his priceless national weather forecast.
Well, I wish someone would bid on it, Joan, because it's pretty much the same old song here as the Four Tops would have said about, 1965. Here in the nation's midsection, storm after storm continues.
Spencer, it is now 10 minutes after the hour. The official talks will begin tomorrow in Tokyo. The leaders of the so-called Group of 7 countries, the world's wealthiest industrialized nations, are gathering there. And as Barry Serafin mentioned a few moments ago, this is Bill Clinton's first overseas trip as president. He arrived in Japan just a few hours ago, as did Treasury Secretary Lloyd Bentsen, who's joining us this morning from Tokyo. Mr. Secretary, Charlie Gibson in New York. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. You're coming through fine.
Good to have you with us this morning. Realistically, Mr. Secretary, can you expect anything concrete out of this summit that will produce U.S. jobs?
Yes, I think so. I must say that negotiators started early this morning, and President Clinton and the Prime Minister Miyazawa had a personal dialogue that they carried on for some time. That isn't to say that we've accomplished it, but the negotiations are going, and they seem to be going well. What you're looking at is Japan with a $117 billion trade surplus and our own country with a $50 billion trade deficit. So some things have to be done in that regard. You're looking at Europe in recession, so we're talking about growth and trying to encourage growth. I don't think you're going to see any fireworks here, nor do I think you'll see any dramatic turnaround. It's not just a question of photo ops. It's trying to get results. That's what President Clinton's working on.
Well, you made reference both to the multilateral talks with all 7 nations and also the bilateral talks that go on between the U.S. and Japan. Let me start first with those. How would you rate the chances of a framework agreement coming out of this being reached with Japan on trade?
Well, this is just in the very beginning, really, of these negotiations, so it's quite difficult to say. But I think we have a reasonable chance of getting something that's going to help. And I think it'll help open up markets here. I think it'll help reduce the major trade surplus that they have over a period of time. And it'll help the Japanese consumers by getting better prices. So I'm reasonably optimistic.
Is the U.S. going to continue to insist on specific percentage targets for imports into Japan?
Well, I think it has to be quantifiable. You have to know that you've had results, but we're not talking about just the United States. We're talking about a multilateral approach to it, opening up markets to all the other countries and trying to slow down this imbalance in trade that's really been a drag on the economies of other countries.
But of course, the Japanese don't want specific numbers or specific percentages, and I wonder how you compromise that point.
That's what we're working on, Charlie.
Well, you also have the problem that there's really no Japanese government at the moment, and I don't know with whom you negotiate anymore.
Well, Charles, what you find in Japan is the permanent government employees have an enormous amount of influence and continuity, and that has led to stability in government over here for a long period of time, regardless of who is in office, who gets elected.
Mr. Secretary, you also...
They'll play a major role. They'll play a major role in it.
You also made reference a few moments ago to the general talks among all 7 of the nations. You have 4 of the nations essentially in recession. You have 3 nations with rather weak recoveries going on, and those are the times that nations tend to raise barriers rather than drop them. Those are the times when there's great fear of unemployment, when the governments are on the defensive. Doesn't that make economic agreements more unlikely, is really what I'm asking?
Let me say that's absolutely right insofar as the past. But we led off in February at the G7 meeting in London, urging the countries of Europe to reduce their interest rates, urging the country of Japan to stimulate its economy. And they have both done just that. You've seen the interest rates in Europe come down substantially. The Bundesbank led the way, the French followed, and so did others. You've seen the British making quite a reduction in their interest rates. And here, where you had a contractionary budget on the part of the Japanese, they then came in with 2 supplementary budgets to help stimulate that economy. These things don't turn around overnight, and they are not easy. But the proper steps are being taken to accomplish growth, and growth spills all over on each other in these countries. We have found that the United States, even though it's the world's largest economy, by itself, it cannot bring the rest of the world out of recession. It has to be a cooperative effort.
Mr. Secretary, we wish you luck. Have a good couple of days. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Appreciate you being with us. 15 minutes after the hour. Next, we're going to be talking with our geography editor, Harm DeBlay, on how the G7 got to be, what its accomplishments have been, when Good Morning America continues.
You know you need life insurance to protect.
Our next half hour, word processing to the highest power. A computer has written a novel.
Right now, 18 after, as we just discussed with the Treasury Secretary, by this time tomorrow, President Clinton and the other leaders of the G7, that's the group of 7 nations, will begin their annual economic summit in Tokyo. But how did they get to be members of this very exclusive economic club? And why isn't it a group of 8 or a group of 9? Our geography editor, Harm DeBlay, joins us with some answers to some of the questions that we may have over the next few days of this summit. Nice to have you here.
Good morning, John.
Why don't you remind us who the 7 are for a start?
Yes, in fact, we have a map here, and obviously Japan represents Asia. Okay. If you'll put markers on the United States and Canada there, I will then go on and mark the 4 remaining European members: Germany, the United Kingdom, and France, and Italy. Now that, as you can see, means 4 of the 7 are European
So they
members.
represent all of Europe. Here, this represents what, all of the Americas?
Well, no, these
the
countries represent themselves, and the reason they're there is because they regard themselves as the largest and most powerful industrial nations.
All right, their purpose, their shared goal.
Well, they're industrial nations, so they want trade. They want to lower trade barriers. But in fact, it's very interesting. If you have a look at the overall market performance, for example, you might want to eliminate Italy and include Spain because, in fact, we could do that. In fact, Spain today is a larger overall economy than Italy. You could look at it another way. Here's a chart, Joan, that shows where the purchasing power in the world lies. Now, have a look at this. This is fascinating. The United States, of course, by far the largest. But notice the second by purchasing power today is China. The third is Japan, 4 Germany, and India comes into this group, larger than the United Kingdom and France. So that if that was the G7, if it's really what we can buy, where we should be sending goods, that would be the G7. So in some ways, it's becoming a bit antiquated.
So then why did these 7 happen to be the ones?
Well, in fact, let's use a question mark. That is a good question. And it all started in the 1970s. In an informal way, this group of countries got together. They were obviously Western countries initially, dominantly. Japan got into it. But really, this group became G7 in a powerful way during the heady economic times of the 1980s. The Thatcher-Reagan era.
I was just going to say, did it have to do with the personalities of those countries?
Mitterrand and Mulroney, they had a chemistry, and out of that came a greater union than might have been.
But as times change, might other countries be admitted into this, or is this self-perpetuating?
Well, you see, I think if you had asked that question in the 80s, when expansion was taking place, I have my doubts that it would have happened. Now, the situation is that these economies are in recession, there are troubles, and of course then countries begin to worry about their borders. They begin to protect themselves. Yeah. Include outsiders at that point? Very unlikely.
Now, Indonesia's President Suharto is in Tokyo, or on his way to Tokyo, to kind of press his case for the third world countries. Right. What do they want to say to the G7?
Yes, well, this is another very important issue. If you look at the map again, except for this question mark on India here, literally, this is a northern group. The southern countries are totally left out. There's some powerful, enormous countries here. 4th largest economy in the world by some measures. There's Australia, certainly comparable to Canada, and they've had their thoughts about not being members. There's Brazil, there's Argentina, the group of the Cone countries in South America. So what's Suharto with 190 million people? This is a 200 million population shortly. It's going to be part of the Pacific Rim, and they want to point out to the G7 that they're going to be a forceful group, that they too could affect regional economies and global economies, and they want to participate in the operations.
So you don't foresee them becoming part of the G7, but they'll use that as a way to come and
I think they'll try to influence the G7. Look, the G7 has got so many problems, and obviously a number of these problems are going to dominate the relationship between the group and Russia. The Russians are interested in, you remember Gorbachev showing up, wanting the Soviet Union to be a member? Yeltsin is going to appear. Obviously, one of the issues they have to coordinate is how to help Russia through its difficult times. Then there is the enormous trade profit that Japan is still making. Secretary Benson referred to that. How is that going to be solved? There's a problem between Russia and Japan that is over those islands to the north of Hokkaido. So there is that problem. So there are so many bilateral problems at the moment, in addition to the general issue of GATT, the improvement of trade throughout the world, that I think it is going to be a long time before this G7 changes and becomes something different.
Because they already have a full plate.
Exactly.
They already have enormous issues with which to grapple.
Yeah. So you see, this is an example of supranationalism, what geographers call supranationalism. Countries trying to bind together to mutually solve problems instead of dividing up and arguing about them.
All right, Harm, thank you very much. Makes it easier to understand. Next hour, pianist Bruce Hornsby in a jazz mood. Good Morning America continues.
Paula Zahn.
And I'm Harry Smith. Welcome back to you.
Nice to be back.
Had a good vacation?
I did, but I still said breakfast for your head every morning while I was away, Harry.
Mantra, right?
Didn't have a TV around for a week, so I couldn't watch you, but I did think about how you were pulling down the fort back here.
We did, all right.
Coming up in just a minute, we're going to get you the remarkable story of a woman convicted of murder on the run for more than 50 years, and the family that now says she is innocent. And we're going to meet some American doctors just back from lending a hand in Cuba.
And where has Kathleen Turner been? She will tell us why you have not seen her lately and what you will see her in very soon.
You've spoken with her a number of times.
Yep.
Get another chance today.
You'll see that this morning in this half hour.
All right, time to get caught up on the news here. This morning, President Clinton met with Japan's Prime Minister Miyazawa this morning, shortly after he arrived in Tokyo. The two report some progress on bilateral trade talks. Heavy rains in the Midwest brought more damage to the flood-ravaged region. Levees continue to break down, forcing evacuations and ruining thousands of acres of crops. In Northern Ireland, they are cleaning up from an IRA bomb that exploded near Belfast, injuring at least 17 people. The blast blew out windows for a quarter-mile around. 28 minutes before the hour, Mark has the week off. Maria Gennaro, WCIX-TV, joined us again with the weather from Miami. Is it cooling off there at all?
No.
Yeah, I didn't think so. It looks pretty steamy there behind you.
It really is. Yesterday I was driving to work and it hurts to touch.
Good morning.
Why do you think your grandmother's still alive?
Her family has longevity, for one thing, and in 1975 she was in real good health.
She was still in good health because she made an appearance to who?
She came and saw some relatives in Sioux City in 1975.
In Sioux City, Iowa.
Right.
But otherwise, she has been on the run ever since. I mean, these relatives really have had no way of contacting her. Is that not correct?
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. This is really a fascinating story. She escapes. She ends up on the run, appears to these relatives on a periodic basis. Your family has not really been anxious about having this story told or about you trying to go around and parade that she's innocent, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Why not?
Well, my dad looked at it as that it'd be shameful to our family. And he was worried about himself, and he was also worried that, that the police might get involved and they would arrest her and this and that. So they, everybody kind of laid low on the whole situation.
Yeah. Now, she sent a letter to your father, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm. And what was it in that letter that has convinced you that over all these years that she really was innocent?
Well, the letter was during the time that she was in prison. Mm-hmm. And she called him a courageous young man is what she called him, or little man, was her exact words. She said, I'm going to be here the rest of my life. I'm never going to be with you. But I always want you to know that I was innocent.
Yeah.
I was in the wrong place at the wrong time in bad company. And just everything around the whole situation, everything I've read on it, she didn't pull no triggers. She didn't kill anyone. She was just with
the wrong people in the wrong set of circumstances. Mm-hmm. This really was a scandalous story in Chicago at the time, and it was, some people believe it was the newspapers there, and it was a kind of a very aggressive press that helped get her convicted. Is that the way you see it?
I absolutely believe that. There was two newspapers fighting, the Chicago Tribune and the Sun-Times, I believe it was called. Uh-huh. And at that time, they didn't have women that were gangsters as such, other than like Bonnie and Clyde or something. And when they got a hold of a woman that was involved in a crime, it just got bigger and bigger. One paper called her the blonde tigress, the next one showed her head on a tiger, and it just got blown completely out of proportion. And then suddenly people come forward, the different robberies, and it was from 30 to 200, and
completely out of control.
Right.
More than anything else, you want her to come forward if she's still alive out there someplace, right?
Yes, I do. This didn't come off quite like I wanted it to. I was trying to get the clemency first.
And then have her come out.
Yeah. So
but the older she gets, the more you've got to take advantage of her still being alive.
Right.
We wish you the best of luck. We'll be interested to see what happens.
Okay.
Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Paula?
24 minutes before the hour. Next on CBS this morning, a first-hand look inside Cuba from some American doctors who have just been there. Before the hour, for some time now, we have been hearing reports out of Cuba that tens of thousands of people may be going blind from a mysterious illness, possibly linked to malnutrition. Well, last week, doctors from Boston traveled to Cuba to investigate in an effort to determine exactly what the cause is of this puzzling disease. They delivered badly needed medical supplies and gave eye exams to patients in hospitals and clinics to determine how widespread the epidemic actually is. Joining us now are two of the doctors who made the trip from Boston, Dr. Catherine Tucker, a nutrition specialist at Tufts University. Good morning.
Good morning.
And joining us here in New York is Dr. Thomas Hedges, Director of Neuro-Ophthalmology at the New England Eye Center. And good morning to you. Thank you both for being with us this morning. Dr. Hedges, you are just back from a week in Cuba. Are people continuing to mysteriously sort of lose their eyesight there?
Yes, the condition does continue, but it has become less frequent over the last few months.
Exactly what did you find when you got there?
We found that individuals had been losing their central vision since about at the beginning of 1992. They have been complaining about loss of their ability to see fine detail and difficulty in recognizing faces. Those are common complaints. This would progress to the point where they had difficulty doing their work. And then, as years have passed, they have begun to have more peripheral symptoms of numbness, cramping, and difficulty with their balance.
Is it a certain age group of people who seem to be most affected by this?
Yes, it's much more prevalent at the ages 25 through 60.
Now, Dr. Tucker, it was originally thought that the link to this illness might be malnutrition. Can you definitely say that is the case this morning?
I don't think we can definitely say anything at this point, but they did realize early on that there was some B vitamin deficiency, and they have gone ahead and created vitamins which they're giving to the entire population right now, and vitamin therapy does seem to be helping, so it looks pretty strong that malnutrition is a factor in this disease.
What did people seem to be eating that you had a chance to talk to, and what seemed to be particularly suspect in their diets?
Well, their diets are very limited right now due to their trade problems. They're having a great deal of trouble getting a variety of foods. They're eating mostly rice and beans with some potatoes and cabbage and plantains. Whatever else comes in, they're distributing among the population. They're not sure if there's a toxin in foods or another source that's interacting with the low levels of nutrition that may be causing this problem.
Dr. Tucker, over the last 3 weeks, we've heard a lot about people saying that this illness progressively worse once you saw Russian aid to Cuba stopped. Is that overstated, or is that the case? Is that what you found?
Well, from what I understand from talking with people down there, that it's not as simple as the Russian aid, but also all the trade that they were doing with the other socialist countries, which they now don't have access to.
Dr. Hedges, as you look at what you were exposed to, what do you think it's going to take besides these vitamin supplements to reverse these illnesses? Is there a cure?
Well, at this point, there doesn't seem to be a specific cure because we really don't know exactly what the cause is. We learned that there are many, many factors that appear to be precipitating this eye problem, which we rarely see here and around the world.
Dr. Hedges, Dr. Tucker, we really appreciate your joining us. We know you were traveling all day yesterday on a hot holiday. We appreciate your joining us this morning. You can see more of what the doctors found out in Cuba this Thursday night on Eye to Eye with Connie Chung, right here on CBS, 17 before the hour. Harry?
Stay with us on CBS This Morning. We'll talk with Kathleen Turner.
And if you try to tell him that those two things didn't go together, he'd say, you're crazy. What do you mean they don't go together? It's better when they go together.
The group was founded 4 years ago. The idea is to take science and technology in new directions, however wacky those directions might seem.
Principles of flight. The Wright brothers tried this first. It didn't work.
It seems their ideas really do fly.
Okay, release.
One of what I consider to be the most successful projects in the robot group is David Santos' bipedal ornithopter. When he was first talking about this machine, I adamantly decided and vocalized that it could not be done. And he built it, and it works. I no longer immediately decide things can't be done.
Not all of their projects fly. Some roll, wiggle, and play.
Well, there's a video camera that's digitizing my image, and it's being mapped into the same bit plane as these computer-generated objects. So I can move them around by using my hands or body movements.
They've been sharing their robotic passions with students as well. This space shuttle allows students to simulate a shuttle mission. The software is from NASA. The robotic arms were made by an Austin junior high school class with guidance from the robot group.
I was amazed at how well they catch on. Every one of them was able to pick up the glass of water and pour it from one cup to another. And I was pretty impressed.
Many school kids now routinely use the mock shuttle as part of their science classes.
So mission controller needs to change course.
These scientific daydreamers hope to take robotics in new directions, to fight technophobia, and to prove that technology can be fun.
We definitely get a lot of, this isn't art. I guess my answer to that would be, if you showed it to a technology person, they would say, this isn't technology. And, you know, a sure sign of something being artistic is being accused of not being art.
I'll start to worry when they teach robots how to do weather. It's now 47.5 past the hour. Next, the jazzier side of pianist and vocalist Bruce Hornsby.
40 albums with everyone from Bob Dylan to Bonnie Raitt to Willie Nelson. Well, now Bruce has gotten back to his own recording career with a new album, his fourth, called Harbor Lights. And we're going to talk with him in just a few moments after he performs a prime cut from the album. It is called Talk of the Town.
Riding around with the top down like I always do. Hey, my love at my side, but only this time my friends say something's changed you. Said you're running with the wrong set. Girl, someone you should never have met. Let her go on her own, son. Everyone else will just come undone. The old town farmers are up in arms. The city council is very alarmed. And the cousins and the uncles are having fits. Because of doom, think this is it. Everybody else are just hanging around. Me and my baby with the talk of the town. The statue there in the town square seems to stare at me. Oh, I'm walking around with my head down. They say, can't we make you see? I said, son, you know we really call them blind, but everybody else seems to really mind. Loser now, I think you find everyone else will just fall in line. The Chamber of Commerce is up in arms. The city council is very alarmed. And the cousins and uncles are having fits. Predictors of doom think this is it. Everybody else is just thinking out loud. Me and my baby with the talk of the town. Lots of crackers and cheese. Stay away from those. My daddy said to me, you'll get in trouble if you mess with these. The old town farmers are up in arms. The city council is very alarmed. The cousins and uncles are having fits. War predictors of the doom think this is it. Everybody else is just hanging around. Me and my baby with the talk of the town.
That's great.
Thank you.
everyone here.
Now, since you were with us last, instead of being out on the road touring all the time, like with the Grateful Dead, you're home. You recorded this at your home, right, in Williamsburg, right?
That's right. I built a home studio so I could be home with my baby boys.
Yeah, you
17
little
months.
twin
That's
boys.
right. Russell
In fact,
and
2 of the songs are written about them, right? Or
That's right. There's a song called Fields of Grey on the record. It's about the boys. I've never been much of a personal songwriter, but the intense experience of having the kids made me inspired to write this song, which maybe I'll do on another segment of Good Morning America.
now, the song that we just heard, though, is about an interracial couple. I think it's about people that you knew growing up, right?
It's a song about sort of the virtual, total collective disapproval by the town concerning this interracial romance, yes.
Mm. You call this a turning point in your liner notes, I noticed.
Well, that's right. I wanted to take the music to a more adventurous place, just do some different things.
Try
let
more
John
things.
Molo stretch out a
Yeah,
little bit.
one of your original guys over here from the range, the only
That's
one
right.
still along, right?
Still along, that's right. Basically, Molo knows a lot of different music, from jazz to rock and roll, from Jack DeJohnette to John Bonham. So,
All right, but this
Very
got a nice
versatile.
jazz influence, this whole album. Nice to see you again.
great to be back.
I like the album. Good.
Thank you.
Good Morning America continues in just a moment.
Now, MCI introduces something new for all its customers.
Brand new product.
New MCI product.
Believe it or not, it's me.
It's me.
It's me.
How do I look? I like to be your own personal consultant.
I'm here to help you with your phone bill. Anytime that you need to update your calling plan.
You call me. We can compare your rates with that other company.
Now you've got a personal friend to help you with your long-distance service.
That's me.
And it's me.
Is it possible to get truly personalized service from a large company? If you're an
Good food. These things are things patients can recognize. They recognize value when they see it.
Let's talk about food for a moment, now that you brought that up. Hospital food really gets a bad rap, no matter, sort of, it seems, where your institution is around the country. Is that warranted?
In some places it may be warranted. We take every patient complaint very seriously, and we explore what we can do about it. We've taken the approach here of empowering the staff on the units. So if staff on a unit find there's a problem with food, with cleanliness, with medications, with any other issue, they form a group that involves all the staff who handle that issue, come up with solutions, and make recommendations for how the hospital can address those. We're very bottoms up in solving our problem here rather than top-down management style.
Sounds like a smart way to go. Dr. Walsh, since it's not really clear exactly what the health care reform package is going to look like, I'm wondering if you could tell us this morning what your concerns are if, in fact, we see health care plans rolled over into HMOs, what impact that would have on an institution such as yours that takes such great pride in this cutting-edge technology. Are you going to be having a tougher go of it?
Well, we hope not. We hope that the Clinton administration recognizes that as we move forward in medicine, science simplifies. For example, the discovery of insulin improved the care for diabetes mellitus, and that in trying to deliver health care to more people around the country, that research-intensive institutions that have discovery as one of the important goals are listed amongst the priorities that will be maintained, and the Clinton administration will find ways to continue to support institutions like Hopkins so that discovery can move forward and we're not left with 1990 science 10 years from now.
Dr. Walsh and Karen Haller, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time. We're looking at just about 16 minutes after the hour. Harry?
Thanks, Paula. Are you ready to fly with the geese? Up next, a pilot whose plane could be called Mother Goose. Look at that. Tomorrow on CBS This Morning, Hattie Kaufman on farms that threaten our water. John Stair on...
And so is everybody else who's been there and who's seen it and knows the story.
I hope there's more out there as well. Thanks very much, Terry.
It was a wonderful story.
Great story. 16 minutes after the hour. Next, we're going to have some expert advice on dealing with touchy topics you'd rather not discuss in front of the children. But we'll discuss them here when Good Morning America continues.
There's nothing new about geese flying south at the end of summer, but this year they're going to be following a human leader, an ultralight aircraft pilot from Ontario, Canada, to Airlie, Virginia. William Lishman is one of 2 pilots who will fly the geese down, and he joins us from Airlie with William Sladen, a professor emeritus at Johns Hopkins University. He'll supervise the geese as they winter in Virginia. Good morning, gentlemen. Bill and Bill.
Good morning to you.
William Lishman, let me start with you. You have been working with these geese since they were born. Talk to us a little bit about imprinting and what it is you do to get these geese to pay attention to you and to ultimately follow you.
Well, actually, you just fit into their natural pattern and you become their mother. They get attached to the first large object they see, and you become that object. And as you can see here in this tape, the aircraft is a large object after a little while, and you run up and down with it or taxi with them, and on a day-to-day basis they get quite used to the aircraft, and when they start to fly, you fly with them. It's very simple.
Are you certain they will fly with you when it comes time to head south in the fall?
Well, we've done this experiment twice, and already just to see if they'll fly, and we've flown them short distances, and it's worked short distances quite well. So this will be the first time we'll attempt to fly them long distances.
Yeah, to actually get them in a kind of a migratory pattern, I guess. We have some tape that you shot. Tell us what we're seeing here and what this is all about.
Well, this is one of the very first times I flew with them, and they're actually flying in their traditional V formation off my aircraft. I'm the lead goose, you might say, at that point. And here we're seeing one flying underneath me, where they have to work quite a bit harder because of the downdraft of the aircraft.
Right.
And this one is actually cruising on the pressure wave. It's right in front of me there, actually. It's quite wonderful to be up there with them. That's one of the reasons I'm doing it. It's an exciting experience.
Well, I guess you almost found this out by accident, right? That your ultralight flies about the same speed as some of these waterfowl?
I wouldn't call it quite accident, but because we had to get an aircraft that would fly slow enough. Very few aircraft, even ultralights, will fly slow enough to fly with these birds. So actually I designed that one to fly slow enough to fly with them.
Yeah. William Sladen, now your job is going to be to maintain these geese during the winter months. What will that entail?
Well, first of all, they've got to get down here safely, and the important thing is for Bill to guide them over a safe migration route away from everything, just a safe migration route. When they come down here, we have very good facilities here at Airlie to look after them. We have some resident and migratory geese here, and we're going to be studying how they fit in with the local population and study particularly the imprinting. Bill's going to come down and fly with them from time to time and show them new places, and we'll be following them. They'll be marked, and they'll probably have some radios on.
Yeah. William Sladen, will it be your job then to fly them back come next spring?
Not me. I'm not going to get into that ultralight if I can possibly help it. It's Bill's job to fly them back.
I'm trying to convince him to fly with us, but it's easier to convince the geese.
Now tell me, William Lishman, what kinds of bureaucratic hurdles have you had to jump over in order to make it legal to do all of this? And we've only got about 15 seconds left.
Well, there are a number of agencies, and we've been talking to all of them, and they have to give it their approval, and most of them have been very positive about it. We've got a lot of positive input from ornithologists, scientists who think this is an important experiment, and they're all being quite cooperative, but as it happens in bureaucracy, it does take some time, and we hope we get the permits in time.
Okay, Bill and Bill, thanks so much.
I didn't see